What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So with the Game Awards happening tomorrow, of course, all kinds of announcements and things are starting to leak out a bit early, and some are just even being announced ahead of the show, even to the point where we think we might know what that statue's about, but we'll go over all of that here today. Also, we have another Switch 2 edition that was announced, and I can't believe they're getting away with it again. And we also have to talk about a new studio that's been formed. This one, though, under 2K, with a couple of familiar faces there coming over from Microsoft. All that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with Metroid Prime 4, specifically from the sales perspective, as we are getting some early indications how it's doing in the UK. We can see this. This is from Christopher Dring, who says sales of Metroid Prime 4 in the UK was down 15% over Metroid Dread, physical sales only. It's relatively marginal, just a few thousand units. And we'd have to go back 4 years or so for Metroid Dread. And we already know how it's going. Digital versus physical. Digital continues to climb every single year. So these sorts of comparisons I think are pretty difficult to make, because actually being down 15%, physical copies specifically, it's actually not too bad. It's about right with the current trends. And what happens with these sorts of numbers out of the UK, Christopher Dring will usually get more of the numbers together towards the end of the month and get a full snapshot with digital included. And with digital, it wouldn't shock me if Metroid Prime 4 actually ended up selling more in the UK than Metroid Dread. So those are numbers we have to wait for, because right now it's just difficult to go, like 2025 versus say 2020 or 2021, digital and physical and stuff. It's just that ratio has altered so much more towards the digital side. So we'll wait and see, I guess, more information towards the end of the month and revisit this UK territory with Metroid Prime 4 versus Dread. Also, we did get an announcement for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate on the Switch 2, as it had already been announced and stuff for the Switch 1 and released. We do have that Switch 2 version that will have some upgrades, and you can see some of the trailer here. And with this one in particular, they will use game share support, which is pretty cool, because this is a game with multiplayer running through it that makes a lot of sense to be able to jump in just through that sharing feature on the Switch 2. They do mention game chat, although I guess like all the games on the Switch 2 really just do game chat, but the idea of that playing into the multiplayer aspect here, that does, of course, help quite a bit. And then enhanced visuals and frame rate. So we're looking at 4K 60 in dock mode, and then 1080p 60 in handheld mode. All right, so if you already have the game on the Switch 1, they do have an upgrade pack that they've released, and as they show in sort of a formula here, that plus that equals Switch 2 edition. Now, the game itself, I think, is pretty fun. I played it way back in the day on the Apple Arcade in a video, and I was like, man, I really wish this would come to other platforms. And then it did, right? So it's one that I can recommend. It's an interesting top-down arcade roguelike style game, kind of Hades mixed with Ninja Turtles with multiplayer. So yeah, again, easy thing to recommend. This will be coming to the Switch 2 with that edition December 16th. So if you're interested in it, mark it on your calendar. Oh, and before we get into all the things that have been leaking out ahead of the Game Awards, we do have one that I want to point out here, and that's Divinity Original Sin 2 Definitive Edition. It does appear that we are going to be getting those next generation versions, I guess, of the game, with the PS5 one specifically being pointed out here by PlayStation Game Size. And then we do have very AFK or Cromwell here, who is the director of publishing at Larian, saying, hey, we weren't meant to announce that yet. And that, of course, immediately blew up online, because it's just them kind of admitting to the, yeah, that is a thing. And it seems like something I think that's going to be announced in tandem with something else that we'll get to here soon at the Game Awards. So I guess exciting stuff there for Divinity Original Sin 2 fans, as there will be a next-gen version that apparently, as people were mentioning, seeing on the PlayStation storefront, having 60 FPS support and more. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with a bunch of leaked announcements, and then also early announcements for the Game Awards. I will warn you, I guess, yes, I'm going to be spoiling some commercials here for you, but these, of course, were going around all over the place yesterday on social media and the internet with gaming discussion, because some of this is legitimately exciting, especially when you look at something like Resident Evil Requiem, which we're just a couple of months away from now at the end of February, and how one piece of key art just really, again, got everyone really excited to see what Jeff Keighley has in store for us tomorrow. But you can see that here. Yeah, it appears on the PlayStation Network on the storefront. Images for Resident Evil Requiem showed Leon, and we already had an idea that Leon was going to be in this game. It does make sense, just outright with the timeline and stuff they're setting up, sure. But with it being rumored, we just hadn't really seen him yet. There were some fake images that were going around, a couple of weeks ago, but this does appear to be the real deal. And there you go. Okay, so I assume the trailer and really just the appearance of Resident Evil Requiem tomorrow night at the Game Awards will be to show a new trailer that then goes ahead and introduces Leon into the mix, and that's pretty exciting. Again, this game, I think so far from everything they've shown, looks awesome, and I can't wait to check it out here in a couple of months, end of February. Awesome stuff. We also had Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced that was rated, and we can see spotted here by Gamatsu. This is over on Peggy, and it's of course rated 18. But yeah, this also confirms that Assassin's Creed Black Flag is getting that remake, remastered kind of treatment, and with it lining up in terms of the Game Awards, would make sense for Ubisoft to show up there and make the big announcement, especially since we know now that Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake will not be at the Game Awards. It'd be odd for Ubisoft not to show up at all and take advantage of this kind of platform, and why not show off something that I'd say a lot of people, 90% of people who are Assassin's Creed fans would be excited about, right? This is typically viewed as one of the top tier Assassin's Creed games, and it's really just going to come down to, I guess, how much they change up that being Ubisoft, and if they don't change it too much, I think they have something here, so here's hoping they don't overthink this whole thing with Assassin's Creed for Black Flag. We also had Sony announce that Saros will be at the Game Awards as well, and we have the release date and everything that's setting up for March, but curious to see more about this. Specifically, I want to see more about the kind of the progression from run to run, as the difference here for Saros versus Returnal is that you will be constantly getting stronger as you even fail some of your runs in Saros, and everything will kind of carry over and give you the ability to almost brute force your way through certain parts. So interested to see more about that one. And we have Jeff Keighley here, who's announcing that they will have the first game from Wildflower Interactive shown at the Game Awards. There's a quick 30-second teaser with the very stylized shot of, it looks like a forest there with some wildlife, and this is the studio that was formed, we heard about it like 3 years ago or something, from Bruce Straley, who is the director, known for directing like Uncharted, Last of Us, those sorts of games. So a lot of interest just to see what he's able to come up with this new studio and leading the way with Wildflower Interactive. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Oh, and as for that statue, seems we may know what it is, kind of. All right, so here's the thing. It does seem to be coming from Larian. Once again, we talked about Divinity Original Sin 2 earlier in the show. Well, the statue has now apparently made its way into LA, and there are images of it there with like guardrails around it and stuff, so I guess mostly, you're not supposed to run up to it and like knock it over or something. But the fact that it's now made its way there, getting closer and closer, I guess, to the Game Awards where that's going to happen, seems like that reveal, of course, is coming along and should be pretty big. People are getting very, very excited for it. And, well, of course, we have some trademarks get out there like a couple of days before. In fact, we see MP First did spot these, and this is over on their website, saying the discovery centers on 3 new trademarks registered today in Europe for the Divinity franchise. 1 for a logo and 2 for icons that appear to be related to the logo or promotional material. And you can see them here with Divinity as the big header there. And then the third image is what a lot of people noticed, because as MP First overlays it, yeah, it kind of matches up perfectly. So what we think is about to happen is an announcement for something in the Divinity universe. And people were thinking, oh, Divinity Original Sin 3, that makes sense. It'll follow up, of course, Original Sin 2. But once again, we have the director publishing there at Larian, Cromwell, say there aren't currently any plans for a new Divinity Original Sin 3 game, but once we are ready to show what we've been working on, we will. Now, people are saying he could just be, of course, misleading people. That's kind of the idea, not give away exactly what it is, try to throw people off, and that very well could be the case here. However, it's also very possible that this announcement could still be in this Divinity universe, but just be a new spin-off or just a new original works or anything like that. I mean, technically it's a big universe they've built up here, and they could do all kinds of stuff with it. So that's sort of what we're expecting now from that statue, and some people will probably be very excited. Some people, I'm sure, will be kind of let down or, just disappointed because it's not some really crazy. I mean, people were linking all kinds of stuff to this. Elder Scrolls 6 was linked to it, a new God of War game. There's just so much stuff. So I understand something Divinity related isn't going to hit for everyone, but for people that it will, they're going to be very, very excited. Either way, though, it seems like Jeff Keighley is really setting up a big show here for the Game Awards with a lot of, I think, high-profile names being in attendance to show off some titles. So that's exciting stuff, and looking forward to what he has for us tomorrow night. Next up, let's talk about a new Switch 2 edition that just shadow dropped out of nowhere. And I saw this immediately and I thought, oh, that could actually be really, really good, because while the game, when it went to the Switch 1, was kind of that almost, it felt like one of those impossible ports. You think of Doom 2016, Wolfenstein, those were big ones. But when Skyrim showed up, it was kind of an aha moment because it happened very, very early on. And it was kind of in that promotional trailer that first introduced us really to the Switch. And we saw it there, didn't have any other details on it, but the fact that Skyrim was this portable game that then also went to your TV and then back to portable mode, and they were on the airplane, he was on the plane playing it. There was kind of like this aha moment clicking, right, around what the Switch could be and what it could do. Well, now there's a Switch 2 edition for it, and Bethesda just kind of dropped it out of nowhere. Yes, you're hearing that right. 2025, we're getting a whole other version of Skyrim. Go figure. They just keep, can they keep getting away with it? Apparently they can. How many different versions of Skyrim are there now with the Switch 2 edition? I mean, if you go by system, I think it's like 18 or 19 different editions of this game, technically by system. Either way, you can see some of the trailer here. They also go over some of the features as well. So it has the complete Skyrim experience. So they have the different expansions, Dawnguard, Hearthfire, Dragonborn. They say it's enhanced for the Switch 2. This is where it gets a little interesting. All right, so enhanced resolution, improved load times, optimized performance, that's as compared to just the Switch 1, of course, that take full advantage of the Switch 2's advanced hardware, hundreds of Creation Club items, and then they just say you can forge your own story in a world that reacts to your choices, be a stealthy assassin, and they just tell us about Skyrim again for like the 10th time. But I downloaded this, so here's the thing, all right? If you have the Anniversary Edition, so not the original game that they released on that, remember, there's a whole thing. They did the original game on the Switch 1. They then did the Anniversary Edition that they moved over to the Switch as well. That had a whole bunch of weird things happening with it. I think it was like $75 even or something like that. So anyway, so if you have that Anniversary Edition, you can just upgrade to this for free. If you do not have that edition, you have to then like buy it. But here's the other thing. It's been on sale so many times. In fact, it was just on sale yesterday. It's like 15 or 20 bucks or something. So yeah, you can kind of just buy it again, I guess, if you want to check it out. But I will tell you, I went ahead and downloaded it. I was curious as to what we were dealing with because, I saw this, they mentioned frame rate. I said, oh, maybe they got this thing to 60. No, it's still 30, unfortunately. So the game looks a lot sharper, a lot cleaner. DLSS was mentioned, I believe, as well. So that all makes sense, and it does look a lot better than the Switch 1 version, especially when you blow it up on, say, a 65-inch 4K capable set. It just comes through much, much sharper, yes. But it is still noticeable. It's like, oh, it's still 30. If they could have done something where maybe the resolution wasn't as good, if they get it at 60, I do think that would have gone a long way. And it's unfortunate that Skyrim still, now on the, again, 18th or 19th release, something like that, still dealing with 30 FPS. But hey, if you've never played Skyrim before, and that sounds crazy to say out loud, but I ran a poll, and it turns out not everyone's played the game. There you go. It's still an awesome title, and it being on sale, it is an easy recommendation, but like, man, it's another release for Skyrim. They keep getting away with it. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a new studio that's been formed now at Take-Two, but under 2K. And some of the people here are actually coming over from The Initiative. Remember the studio that Microsoft shut down not too long ago, earlier this year? We were working on Perfect Dark, that gets canceled, the whole thing. And now here they are turning up at 2K with a new studio. And we can see this. This is over on gamesindustry.biz. They say Take-Two Interactive has hired The Initiative's Darren Gallagher and Brian Horton to form a new studio at 2K. Gallagher founded and led The Initiative in 2018, which is working on the Perfect Dark reboot with Crystal Dynamics. Horton was creative director at Microsoft, leading the creative vision and execution at The Initiative during this project. Gallagher and Horton will lead an all-new venture Following the closure of their former studio, Horton joins as the vice president and head of creative, with Gallagher as senior vice president and studio head of the developer. Gallagher described the studio as an ambitious opportunity unlike anything he's taken on before. So, I mean, again, the whole initiative thing was just a disaster. How much time did they really waste that? It's crazy to think about. But now at least they're able to kind of reform a bit under 2K. And the thing with Microsoft's management, we've already questioned it. It's been kind of, just sketchy to put it mildly. So at least under Take-Two and 2K, it feels like a more tightly run ship, I guess, compared to Microsoft. I am curious what they'd come up with, because you feel like they would have had to have done at least some kind of pitch coming off of Perfect Dark, maybe some ideas from that even getting woven into it, but it's going to be a while before we see anything from it. And that's one of the reasons I see these studios get formed all the time, right? Like from very talented developers or leaders from previous studios and stuff, even go off to form their own, but I know we're like 3 or 4 years off from seeing anything come out of that studio. So it's kind of like, okay, cool, they formed it. Now what? Well, now we just sort of wait a while. So most likely they're starting up development on a PlayStation 6 or next Xbox game and then on PC. And yeah, it'll be a bit, but it'll be interesting to see what, I guess, ex-developers or ex-leaders even from the initiative come up with here after Perfect Dark, which was just, an absolute disaster now looking back on it. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, have you played the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim before? 71% say yes, 29% say no. I thought we'd get this poll to where, I've run this poll before, I thought we'd finally get to where it was like 80-20 minimum. Maybe we go 85-15. There's still 29% of 18,000 people out there who have not played this game that Bethesda can attempt to sell it to again. So I make fun of them for releasing it over and over, but it must be selling copies still. And the thing is, it's been around so long, I think people tend to forget that it first released on the Xbox 360 and the PS3 forever ago at this time. The PS3 was funny because the game would like save over itself and eventually the hard drive would just run out of space. That was a whole thing then. But, again, as much as I beat down Bethesda for releasing Skyrim over and over again, and it feels like we're forever away from Elder Scrolls 6, that probably is a next generation, like a PS6 and whatever the next Xbox is. I'm thinking maybe 2028, 2030 at this point for that game. But still, Skyrim is a legendary game. I can't take it away from that title. Back then when it came out, I played it on the 360. Stepping out into that world for the first time and just seeing that vista and all the possibilities in front of you, it was legitimately impressive stuff and one of those like landmark moments in gaming history that I still haven't forgotten about. And we'll finish up with the comments of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Zachary, who says, I just want to see Mega Man Legends or the Misadventures of Tron Bonne remade, or at least update the control. So that would be the next step, you feel like, a collection of some kind. Now, Capcom may look at this and go, can we get $60 out of Mega Man Legends 1, Mega Man Legends 2, and the Misadventures of Tron Bonne? So 3 games, $60. Like, I think they do want that full-priced game. Well, full price, relative. I know it's $70 now, but, like that $60 experience. They might look at that and say, okay, those 3 games, maybe some museum stuff, like extra content behind the scenes, that kind of thing. Does that seem like it has enough value? Well, if you look at what these games are going for in the secondhand market, with Misadventures of Tron Bonne, just disc only, pulling in $250. If you look at it that perspective, then $6 would be a steal. But we know, look, if the secondhand market gets that egregious, people are just going to download the ISO and play it that way. And Capcom, I'm sure, knows this as well. So I will say, if they have plans for a Mega Man Legends 3, and they put out a collection of Mega Man Legends, and then they're like, hey, you know what, we're thinking about it, I'd buy it for $60. Look, Mega Man Legends 1 and 2, and then Misadventure of Tron Bonne, they were developed originally for the PS1 when it didn't have dual analog sticks. There's a whole thing when it comes to moving the camera around. If they fix some of those controls up, of course, smooth out visuals and stuff, those games I think can still hold up well enough and would be really fun for a new generation to experience for the first time. But if it could eventually lead to Mega Man Legends 3 just to find out what exactly they have planned there, it'd be fully worth it. So I'd like to see it, if nothing else, to bring these games up for more people to experience, because as of now, being locked away on a lot of these older platforms or have the secondhand market completely price gouge these things is pretty frustrating. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you wanted to hear about some of the changes that Sony has made to the new DualSense controller that just came out with better battery life, apparently up to 15 hours or so. I kind of go over how that's possible, and I'll leave that in the video right below it. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.